it's like my goal and your goal should continue to be leveling up in the rooms that you're in. And an example would be like there's a $500 room, right? The $500 room is the event you attend. Maybe the private dinner that you pay a little extra money to sit with certain people. But to continue to look for that next room that goes up in value. Like from the $500 room, what do I got to do to get to the $1,000 room, then the $10,000 room? And not being afraid to make the investment to be in it.
Guys, welcome back to Entrepreneur Unleashed. I just want to say I'm Edward Collins. I'm your host, and we're here in the studio with the one and only Eric Castellano. And we're going to be talking about Eric's trials and triumphs. You're not going to want to miss this, so pay attention. If whatever else you have going on your computer, turn it off. Your phone, mute it, unless obviously you're watching this on your phone, then don't mute it. So here we're going to go. We're going to talk about Eric's life and his business and his career and basically give you an opportunity to learn through him. As if you've been watching this, you know that I have a strong, strong belief that the best way to shortcut your journey of success is to learn vicariously through others who have already been through what you're going through and who have made it through to the other side. Can't wait to get started, so let's jump right in. Eric, thank you so much for jumping in here and being willing to sit down with me and have this conversation. I know we've known each other for a little while now, but I'd like to get to know you even better and give the audience an opportunity to learn more about you and your story.
Absolutely, Edward. It's a pleasure. I was super excited when Flo reached out, and we met, I'd say almost a year ago.
Almost exactly a year ago.
Yeah, it was October, I think, in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah, I think so.
At Russell's event. So, I'm excited.
Awesome, awesome. So what I typically do is I sit down in these conversations, and I'd like to start off giving the audience an understanding of who you are deep down inside.
Yeah.
And the best way I think that has historically proven to be true is to go back in time.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your upbringing. I mean, we're both Jersey boys.
Yeah.
So tell me about, what was the young Eric like?
Yeah. So born and raised in New Jersey, Hackensack Hospital, and my family, mother, father, they're still married today. Okay. So medium income household. I didn't have, super nice things, but I had everything that I needed.
Okay.
So there was no struggles there. We went on a vacation once a year and went skiing in the winter. So upbringing, completely normal. I have an older brother who taught me a lot just about being a person. Someone, when you surround yourself with anybody really older, they have the knowledge and the wisdom that you just don't have when you're younger.
Did you recognize that when you were a kid, though?
I did. I did. I always thought it was super cool, the conversations he would have with his friends. They just seemed more advanced than what I was capable of adhering to at the time. So it was exciting, and I always looked forward to whenever he would allow me to be around him.
Sort of like a role model. Then.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And that's who actually, before I came in here, I was on the phone with him. We work together, and the relationship continues to grow.
Wonderful. How about schooling? Tell me a little bit about your experience in school. When you were a kid.
So school, I was a C student.
Okay.
Pretty standard for me. I had this slogan. It was like C's get degrees.
I like it. Okay.
My parents, they always had visions of college, and but in high school, school wasn't for me.
Okay.
So I went half the day to a vocational school.
Oh, okay.
In Morris County, and I learned the trade of carpentry.
Wow.
And that was really, I guess, my second mentor after my brother was this gentleman, Mr. Weems, and he taught me about discipline and sacrifice and really honing in on a craft.
Wow.
And at that time, I won these awards, and they flew me around the country.
Wow.
And
so you were really into carpentry.
Yeah. I stuck with it, and
more than just woodworking. You were into it.
Yeah, and it was cool, getting these accolades and flying me around and giving me these awards, and there were some cash bonuses, which when you're 17, 18 years old, stuff like that can really increase your morale.
Oh yes,
and it can change the whole trajectory if you allow it to.
Wow. So would you point to that as something that did change your trajectory?
Yeah.
Okay. If not for that vocational experience, do you think your life would have turned out completely differently? Or?
Yeah, completely differently. Wow. So that mentor at the time, my teacher, Mr. Weems, he said, Eric, you should go to college and consider being, a construction manager, an engineer. You don't want to be a laborer all day. He would show me his knees, and he had bolts in his knees because he's been doing carpentry work for 40, 50 years. So he's like, you don't want to do what I did. So he said, you should go to college. I was like, okay. Applied to some schools, got accepted to a few, and I ended up going to NYU.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
It was tough initially. I was definitely the bottom of the totem pole. Okay. I went from being...
NYU is a big school.
Yeah, NYU is a really big school, and a lot of international students, very intelligent international students. So it was very intimidating for me. And they only accepted me with like a clause that I do a summer program to kind of get me a little more advanced for the math and the science that I was going to have to take.
Okay. Now, did you live at NYU, or did you stay
at
home?
I lived on campus.
Okay.
I went to their Brooklyn campus. It was called Polytechnic University at the time. And, so I lived in Brooklyn for 3 or 4 years.
How did you enjoy that?
It was fun. I love the city. I've been going to the city my whole life. You take it for granted,
You definitely do. Yeah, I mean,
you live
I grew up in South Jersey, but I lived in North Jersey for a lot of my adult life. So, definitely take advantage of.
Like people come from all over the world to go to New York City, and it's in our backyard, and sometimes I just don't appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, you definitely don't go there as often as you probably should, just because it's so convenient.
Yeah. So I was in school, and at the time, I struggled. Part of my story, a big part of my story, is alcoholism and drug addiction.
Okay.
I started at maybe 15, 16 years old, dabbling in.
With everything, or?
Well, it progressed, started just drinking and smoking, and, and then I started selling some things, and it taught me a lot about entrepreneurship.
Okay.
But I wasn't able to implement that for the good.
Right.
Till many, many, many years later.
Okay.
So I ended up dropping out of college. I ended up essentially living out of my car. I was estranged from my family, my friends. Nobody wanted anything to do with me. And this is over the course of multiple years.
I totally
doing the
get
same
it.
Stuff. So I reached a point in my life where I was completely broken and hopeless.
What would you say is the number one factor that led to that, like the broken and hopeless state? Like, was there one thing, or was it just a multitude of factors?
I would say it was a spiritual bottom.
Okay.
It wasn't the arrests, it wasn't the homelessness, it wasn't the lack of money, it wasn't the lack of relationships with friends. It's just one morning I woke up and I looked in the mirror. I didn't know who I was anymore.
Truly empty.
Yeah. I was completely lost, and I knew something had to change. Couldn't go on like that. It's miserable.
Well, the fact that you knew you had to change was the first step.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst that caused the change?
Yeah. So I went to this self-help group.
Okay.
Right? And I met this gentleman by the name of Rob, who I would consider mentor number 3 for me.
Okay.
And Rob said, listen, Eric, something about me something about him attracted me to what he was talking about, just his presence. He had a full-time job. He had a young daughter. Okay. He had a good-looking girlfriend. He was put together, but his story was the same as mine. Oh, okay. He was just a few years advanced. So it was like, if this guy can do it, maybe I can do it too.
He had been through what you were going through.
Yes.
And made it through to the other side.
Yeah. And it was like 4 or 5 years. He was sober at the time. And I was like, wow, I want what this guy has.
Yeah, 100%.
So I walked up to him.
Okay. What was that conversation like?
I was just like, listen, Rob, man, I know you shared some stuff in the meetings, and it's just interesting to see that you used to live the life I'm living now, and you no longer live that life. Like, what do I need to do to have what you have? And he just said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to call me every day, no excuses, and you're going to meet with me once a week. And I just said, okay. And I did that the next day, and I ended up doing that for almost 4 or 5 years straight.
Wow.
Yeah.
You made the decision.
Yeah.
And then you committed to it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I had no other choice. It was either continue to live.
You did have a choice.
Yeah.
You chose the right one.
Yeah.
You made the right choice.
Yeah.
When you look at those 4 to 5 years of checking in, if you will, getting constant guidance from this new mentor number 3, if you will.
Yeah.
Like what were some of the things that were like critical to your development, critical to getting through what you were getting through?
Yeah. So I think one of the most beneficial things he taught me, and that I still incorporate in my businesses in my life today, is the process of being of service to other people.
Wonderful.
You know, because in his whole explanation, and it makes absolute sense, is like when I'm helping someone else, I'm not thinking about me.
Yeah.
So there's no time to get stuck up here because my focus is on them. So when I'm sitting knee to knee and helping somebody, or, you know, even if it's something simple as giving someone a hand with a move, like while I'm doing that, not focused on me. And I still incorporate that, and it's been a game changer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
When you look at that 4 to 5 year transition period, coming from rock bottom to getting back on your feet, what were some other things that may have been going on at the time? Were you like transitioning, trying different jobs?
Oh,
like, what
yeah.
was that like?
Yeah. So.
Because you didn't go back to school, right? You didn't.
I did.
Oh,
you
did
many years
later, but not initially.
Not initially.
So what did you do?
So initially, right when I got sober, about 2 weeks in, a good friend of mine who struggles with some of the same things I struggle with, he had some legal problems, and he had to go to jail for a couple months. And he said, Eric, and at the time I was working at his construction company as a laborer, just for a couple weeks. It was a job. And he said, Eric, I have to go away. I see what you're doing. I know it's only been like 3 or 4 weeks since you're kind of getting your life together, but I feel like this time it's different. It's like I see this sparkle in your eye, and I'm about to go away for 8 to 9 months, and I need someone to run my construction company.
Okay.
And he's like, can you do it? And I gave him a big hug, and he cried, and I cried, and it was a very emotional moment. And I said, sure, I'll do it. And I did that for almost a full year, and made the company a lot of money, and that was kind of my foundation of me being able to make a reasonable salary to kind of put some money in the bank, get myself a car, get off my feet a little bit.
Okay.
So that was like the catalyst to kind of the rest of my life.
There was so much going on then in this period of time. Like you're finally getting your act together, if you will. But it's also like some remarkable things entered into your life in order to make that possible. Yeah. Like this situation with this friend of yours, obviously it was hard for him having to leave the business, but he trusted you enough to take care of it. Yeah. And you did. You took care of it for a year. When you look at that year, was there anything that you learned about yourself in that process?
Oh, definitely.
Tell me about that.
Definitely. So I learned the importance of taking time to myself, prayer, meditation is specifically for me. Okay. It's so easy to get caught in the day-to-day, and I realized that when I was now operating 3 to 4 construction sites, there were 7 to 10 employees, there's moving around, and before you know it, you're up at 6:30, 7 a.m., you get home, it's 9, 10 o'clock at night, I spent no time for myself. Right. And after about 2 weeks of doing that, I was like, this cannot work. If I continue to do this, I will go back to my old ways. Right. So during that first year, I really started to allocate time in the morning to pray, meditate, get myself centered. Okay. And I still incorporate that in my life. Now it's almost 8 or 9 years later.
Wow. So that's part of your daily routine.
Yeah.
I love it.
It has to be.
Okay.
For me personally.
When you look at now you've finished that year of service for your friend.
Yeah.
What was the next transition? Yeah,
so it's funny. It's a funny story. He got out and he's like, Eric, you could keep working for me, But once he gave me the number, and it was like maybe 60% of what I was, which makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was like, Matt, I appreciate it, but that's not the opportunity for me. I'm not downgrading. I need to upgrade.
Okay.
And, I gave him a big hug, thanked him for the experience, let him know if you need anything, I'm here for you. So I started applying for jobs.
Okay.
And previous to this construction job, Sebastian, who you know,
I know Sebastian,
my business partner, he started selling on Amazon.
Okay.
And I worked on and off for him, just like helping him in his house. I kind of learned the basics. And he told me, Eric, if you ever need a job, call me. So I started applying for jobs, and I would use him as a reference.
Okay.
Because I've known him for
a long while.
10 years at that time, 15 years at that time, and so I worked for him. So I'd use him as a reference, and Matt as well. And he started getting these phone calls, and like, is Eric a good guy? Has he worked for you? And he gave him the rundown. And Eric's great. He's a hard worker. He learns quick. And then he called me. He said, Eric, why are you applying to jobs? I told you
I have one.
Yeah, I have you. He's like, I need my right-hand man. Like, let's do this. Wow. And about 3 days later, I started the business that I still own today and part of today, which is our Amazon business, which is thriving.
Okay. Now, when you started with him, though, you were starting as an employee?
Yeah, I was an employee.
How did you make the transition from employee to partner?
Yeah.
Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I started from the bottom.
Okay.
I started in the warehouse. I was maybe getting paid at the time $15 an hour.
Okay. So let's backtrack, because I think it's important for the audience to understand this. Your friend at the time had a thriving Amazon business. I mean, the fact that you have a warehouse means that you have inventory.
Yeah.
Like, describe what was that like? What was the warehouse like at that time?
Yeah. So originally it started in a basement.
Okay.
And then we ran out of space. We had to get a warehouse.
Okay.
The first warehouse was only 1,000 square feet.
You say only 1,000 square feet. There are thousands upon thousands of Amazon sellers that don't have 100 square feet.
Yeah.
So only 1,000.
Yeah. But we knew that it's just the same thing. Just for me running the construction company, him, having some experience. It's like we can't grow in our 300 square foot basement.
Right. Okay.
So
you upgraded.
Yeah. So we upgraded, and in that warehouse, I was doing a lot of the manual work.
Okay.
The foundational things
like
that
what?
I think.
Like, help me understand.
So labeling products, inventory. Okay. So when you buy a product to sell on Amazon, like all the products have a UPC code.
A UPC code.
Yeah, okay. And that needs to be covered with a SKU from Amazon.
Exactly.
So like doing that tedious work.
Physically, manually putting the labels over the UPC code.
Or like making a 3-pack or a 6-pack, so you put them in poly bags. And, and then taping them, sealing them, and then putting them in another box. So just warehouse work. Okay. I did that for maybe 4 to 6 months. Okay. Kind of learned the ropes of the industry.
Okay. What was that challenging for you, or like just routine?
No, it was routine. And I remember when it was maybe 2 weeks in, he gave me a key to the place, and I would get in at 8 in the morning at the time. Boom. Yeah. I didn't have a car. Mm-hmm. I would take 2 buses and then walk. To get there. Yeah. And then walk 1.5 miles to get to work every day. Wow. And I would get in at 8, and I wouldn't leave till 9. I loved it. I fell in love immediately. Okay. Just with the warehouse work. It was like
the routine of it, the simplicity, but also the complexity. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So now that you're a number of months in, you said about 4 months in? Yeah. Then you made the transition? Yeah. So tell me about that.
So one of the most important aspects to an Amazon business is buying. Okay. So I didn't immediately become a partner in the company. That didn't come till about maybe 3 years later.
Okay, so this is 4 months in, you started to transition to the buying side of the spectrum.
Yeah, so I started buying, which is like a higher level task. It's definitely, I think, the most important task in an Amazon business, because if you don't have good products, nothing else matters. Doesn't matter how quickly you're processing it, how quickly you're shipping it, they're not profitable. So I started buying, and that really taught me a whole new side of the business, how to deal with vendor relationships, how to request discounts, how to grow our SKU count, all those things that are like for the next level. Okay.
So you're constantly upgrading. I mean, that seems to be the theme in this discussion, is that you get to one stage, you're okay, but now it's ready for an upgrade. Yeah. Stage, okay, now ready for an upgrade. Yeah. So now you're upgrading to the buying side of the spectrum. Yeah. What did you learn most about yourself in that experience?
Yeah. The importance of relationships and me getting out of my comfort zone. Okay. Because it's like me, I'm an outgoing, personable guy.
You are, definitely, 100%.
But there's a lot of times where I just kind of go inside and I don't want to talk to anybody. But in the business, especially when you go to industry events, as you know, you go to a lot as well, like that doesn't help you. Yeah. So like just separating myself, like, okay, this is the time I need to be that outgoing, personable guy. Right. Maybe tomorrow I can be to myself, but like today is the day I need to step it up. And really just go out there and start shaking people's hands and introducing myself.
I'm curious, because I've had discussions like this a lot with business owners. How did you learn that? Like, is that something that you feel was just innate, your ability to do that? Or did someone teach you that? Did you read it in a book?
I think I get a lot of it from my mother.
Okay.
She taught me a lot, and my father as well. He's been in a retail industry for years, so he always stressed the importance of relationships. And my mother's super outgoing and personable, so I get a lot from my parents.
So modeling their behavior.
But also a lot of it was learned through trial and error. Okay. Which I think is the best way. Yeah. Because when you make a mistake, the chances of you making again are slim to none. Yeah. As you learn from it.
Definitely. Okay. What was the transition like from buying to the next stage? Where did you go from there?
I became a manager.
Okay.
So I was managing a team of maybe 12 or 15 employees at the time.
Okay. So the warehouse is definitely growing while you're there.
Yeah, by this time we're now in probably our third warehouse, which is about 7,500 square feet.
Wow. Okay. So the business is definitely going gangbusters.
Yeah.
Are you involved in a lot of the development of the processes and systems at this point, or is it still you just implementing the systems that are being shared with you?
Yeah, so this is the year when I became a manager, is the year we really started hammering down on our processes and systems. Okay. Originally, we didn't have many. Yeah. It was just like buy profitable products, package them. You'd come into the warehouse, there'd be a group of people over there. There's no organization.
No organization.
It was a side hustle that was
grew
doing
to big side.
Yeah.
Okay. 7,500 square foot side hustle.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I see a lot of times that business owners go through that phase where they grow, but they grow almost in spite of themselves because they don't have any methodology by which they grow. So what was it that triggered you guys to say, hey, wait a minute, we need to really systematize this?
Yeah. So I guess mentor number 4. I've never numbered my mentors like this, but
it's the first time for everything.
But I met this gentleman, Ernie, who owns a huge wholesale company in New Jersey.
Okay.
And he kind of put me under his wing and taught me a lot about the game. And he would bring me to his warehouse, which is like 250,000 square feet.
Oh my goodness.
And he taught me about like steps, right? And how every additional step our employee takes, I lose money. And he taught me about having like the fastest selling products closest to the production stations. Wow. And he ran the game for me, and it opened up my mind, and everything he taught me, we implemented in our warehouse.
Now it's all about strategy.
Yes.
Okay.
And where we can shave, because you can shave 10 steps a day, but you got 20 employees, 200 steps a day times, 200 whatever work days in a year, it adds up.
When you have steps, employees are taking steps, and you have multiple employees taking steps, you get collision.
Yeah.
And that creates bottleneck. Mm-hmm. When you look at Ernie, now he's sharing this wisdom with you. How did you meet Ernie? Like
Craigslist.
Craigslist. So you found him?
Yeah, I was looking for a new supplier.
Okay.
And I originally met his sales rep, Eddie, who I'm still great friends with today. Okay. And Eddie said, hey, come to our showroom. We got, you could check out our products. And I was like, this is great. Mm-hmm. So I went down there and I met Ernie that day, and then we started doing business with them. I feel like the best way to grow a relationship is spend money with the company you're trying to grow a relationship with.
I get it. Definitely makes sense.
It's the easiest way.
When you look at that experience learning from Ernie, was that a similar experience than you had with your other mentors, or was it different? What was that relationship like? It
was very similar, because with all my mentors, and still the mentors I have today, we have one of the same mentors today, is like, I put on blinders. Mm-hmm. I don't pay attention to any of the distractions, and what they say I do, because they are far more advanced than where I am.
Right.
I think that's there's a lot of people, you get a mentor and then you see something on YouTube, and you're like, oh, well, let me try this. Yeah. It's like, no, you paid this person for a reason.
Exactly.
Put the blinders on and do what they say.
Do what they say to do. Okay. Implement.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward a little bit to the point in time when you're transitioning out of management and into part ownership.
Yeah.
How was that discussion like for you?
Yeah.
What was that environment?
So I always encourage everybody you want to have types of discussions, whether it's just a salary increase, maybe a decrease in time with the salary the same, like whatever it is, you need to schedule at minimum once a year to discuss this with whoever you're working for.
I definitely respect that.
I had a conversation. I was like, listen, guys, I've been here for multiple years. I love the company. I'm working at this time probably 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
The chances of, I had the ball was in my court.
Yeah.
Because it's like the chances of them finding someone else who's going to dedicate themselves the way I have was very slim. Plus, I've known the guy and his uncle for 18 years at that time. So the conversation was just had, and they discussed it, and
now you're an owner in the company.
Yeah.
So tell me about what's been going on in the business over the course of the past, let's say, year and a half. Because obviously the pandemic was what it was, but basically coming out of the pandemic. How are things going?
Yeah, so we were nervous after the pandemic. The pandemic grew our business over 150%.
Wow.
So right before the pandemic, we were doing about 20 million a year, and immediately after, we were doing 45.
Okay.
So it was like huge growth for us. So there was concern, like, are we going to go back to 20?
Right.
I don't want to downgrade. Profits were up, revenue was up, everything was looking great. And we said, no, that's not an option for us. We're just going to continue to streamline our processes and build new relationships with new vendors and just keep doing what we're doing. And now this year is going to be our best year ever.
Wow. One of the things I really respect about everything that you've done is you actually have now taken it to the next level.
Yeah.
Like you're always about upgrading. I love that.
Yeah.
And I talk with business owners so much about this concept of saying, okay, you've now excelled in what you do. Now let's figure out a way to productize your knowledge.
Yeah.
Because that's an area that so many business owners just fall flat on.
Yeah.
You've built up this wealth of experience, this wealth of know-how, and now you've been able to productize that.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that so that the audience can understand it.
Yeah, so essentially Amazon Lit is what we created. It's a consulting company. We're course creators and Inner Circle. So those are the three primary pillars of Amazon Lit. And the year was 2018. I saw my first YouTube ad for an Amazon program.
Oh, okay.
And I got really excited about it.
Yeah.
I bought it immediately.
Yeah, just in case, right?
Yeah, and not for the experience, but just to see what it was. Like what's this about? I've never seen this. And within 10 minutes, I was thoroughly disappointed. And in that moment, me and Sebastian were in the office. It was maybe 1 a.m. on a Friday night. We said, we have to create the world's best Amazon program out there and leverage our experience and offer it to other people. And we did exactly just that. We trademarked the name that night.
Okay.
And we started the business, and we started helping people one-on-one initially.
Tell me about that adventure, because obviously I know a little bit about it, but I want to know even more.
Yeah.
I think the audience would love that too.
Yeah. So the first step was creating social media accounts.
Okay.
Because nobody knew who we were.
Right. Okay.
So Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok wasn't around at the time.
Right.
So those were the three priorities for us. And we just started posting about our experience, and people latched onto it quickly because there wasn't many people talking about it.
At least not in an authentic fashion.
Yeah. Yeah, there was people talking about it, but no one the size we were talking about it. So we wanted to know how to better serve these people, but we didn't have the systems that Russell taught us now and that I've learned over the years. So we said, all right, let's set up an hourly and a 5-week consultation. So it's like an hourly rate. At the time, we started $100 an hour. It's like
the pricing decision is always one that I find interesting, right?
But I had to build rapport.
Yeah,
Nobody knew us yet.
Absolutely.
Nobody trusted us. So we did in the course of 18 months, we did about 1,500 clients with either one-on-one personal phone calls or 5-week mentorships with one call a week.
Okay.
And what that did was it taught us a lot about the industry. So yeah, we made a couple shekels. It wasn't life-changing money, but it wasn't about that. It was about learning the industry and what do these people need.
So it was sort of like a reverse tuition, if you will. Like you could have charged more because people, from the value standpoint, you definitely could have earned more. But you chose to charge less and use that like discount, if you will, sort of like your tuition of learning how to do it, learning how to share your knowledge with others, learning what they actually need it.
Yeah. Wow. And every time after a phone call, we'd have this Excel file with all the most common questions that we got.
Okay.
Right? So if a common question was repeated, there would be an additional check mark next to it. So we could see, based on how many check marks were next to it, it's like this question was asked 50 times. This one was only asked 7. So like maybe let's address the 50 questions opposed to, and then we'll get to the 7 later.
Okay. Yeah,
so
you used your audience to cultivate what you needed to discuss.
Yeah.
Okay. Exciting.
Yeah.
When you look at the ups and downs of that process, like what was the most challenging thing for you guys to get through?
Raising our prices, I think. Understanding my value as an industry leader. Just being like, you know what, like I am valuable as a business owner, as a mentor, as a coach, and like and just putting that number on paper and saying this is what I'm going to charge. Yeah, it was the hardest part for me.
I think it's not just for you; it's for most business owners out there. I mean, the whole price discussion. Like I had a talk with another business owner recently, and I was asking about how he set his pricing, and he said, "Well, this is just how people price." And I said, "What do you mean how people price? Did you do any like study? Did you do any analysis?" And he goes, "Well, I just know that this guy charges this guy, I'm just going to charge the same." And I said, "Well, that's one that's probably not the best approach." And then that's when I started talking about the concept of value and starting from a place of value and then discounting for the uncertainty based on the recipient of the value's position, their perspective. And that's definitely a better approach than trying to charge by the hour or even by a project standpoint. Because at the end of the day, price is what someone's going to pay, value is what they're going to get. And if you could price closer to value, they'll appreciate it 100%. Much more than if you charge based on just sharing time or some sort of project outcome. Wonderful. When you look at your adventure now, we're in 2022 at the time that we're sitting down having this discussion, what would you say the biggest challenges are for you now in business?
So for me now, our biggest challenge in the Amazon business is space. Okay. You know, we're growing so quickly, and with these leases, 3 to 6 years or 3 to 5 year leases, it's like we have to commit to this space, and we know we're going to grow out of it very quickly. Okay. So right now we're in the process of looking for our 5th or 6th warehouse, and we're looking for 60 to 70,000 square feet. Okay. To really scale it out that way.
Have you thought about going on the purchase route instead of the lease route?
Yeah, that's the goal this time around, would be to purchase 100%.
And what has been your thought process around that decision? Because I know that's also another thing a lot of business owners are thinking about. Should I continue on the lease side of the spectrum, or should I get onto the ownership side of the spectrum?
Well, a few reasons. Equity. Also, real estate continues to go up in price year after year. Historically, when you look at charts from the early 1900s, it's up. It's always trending up. So like, and then not having that expense that isn't going anywhere. It's like, all right, you pay someone rent, you never see that again. Right. But when you're paying to own something, it's yours. You have that tangible asset now that you can leverage to buy other properties and really start growing a real estate portfolio as well.
Have you thought about the tax benefits of it?
Yeah, huge tax benefits as well. Okay. Huge tax benefits as well.
When you look at the next few years, like where do you see yourself going business-wise?
Yeah.
Is there new things on the horizon, or new adventures that you're going to be jumping down?
Yeah, so the goal is in 24 months we would like to be doing $100 million a year on Amazon. Okay. Right now we're about 65% of the way there. Okay. So we're close. Profitable sales.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the largest Amazon businesses in the world just shut down. They filed bankruptcy 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, so their name was PharmaPacks, and they ran an unprofitable company. Wow. They did about $450 million a year in sales, but their books look terrible. Money. Yeah. So they're on the verge of going public, and so that taught me a lot. Like, that's not what I want to do. So the main goal is continue to grow the Amazon business, because it's a very lucrative and profitable business. And then our new goal, which we started about 12 months ago, is to continue to grow our inner circle. Okay. Which right now has about 30 of some of the largest Amazon businesses in the world, and we work with them more personally, one-on-one. We visit their warehouses. We implement the same systems that we implemented in our facility in theirs.
When you look at the goals that you're setting for both the business, one business, and for the next business, like, how do you go about setting those goals? Do you guys sit down and have conversations about it? Do you plan those conversations? What's that process like?
Yeah, so definitely we sit down and we discuss those goals. And I'm a firm believer that whatever I think the goals should be, I should probably add 20% to it.
We always undersell ourselves, right? Okay.
Because then it's like if you get close, you at least got close. But if you don't try, then you're never going to know what the outcome's going to be. So I think $100 million a year, it's outlandish, but we're going to do everything in our power to get to it.
The only one's controlling the limit is yourself, right?
Yeah.
So choose not to limit yourself.
Yeah. So and we definitely have those goal meetings and those. It's monthly for us. We don't have the time to sit down weekly, or sometimes it's even quarterly. It depends how busy we are.
Okay.
But also, being part of Russell's inner circle taught me, like, hey, I want to be on stage to get that award next year. What do I need to change in my business to be a part of the winner's circle?
Exactly. When you look at those types of goals, like, do you and your business partner share the same type of goals, or are you aligned 100%? Do you have different approaches?
Yeah, not 100%. So I'm currently dating a girl. I'm not married. He's got 4 kids. So like our lives are different.
Yeah,
right?
different stages. Okay. When you look at the things outside of business, what are some things that you enjoy doing that's not business related?
Yeah.
Because you said 70 hours at times that you're at the office. Like, what else? Yeah. What else is in Eric's life?
Yeah. So I love, me and my girl on the weekends, we love going to estate sales.
Okay.
And just kind of, shopping around. And, sometimes I don't even buy anything. I think it's just cool to kind of get out there. And sometimes you find something just really interesting, that I just want to get and put on my shelf. I'll probably throw it out in a year or two, but it's like, it's a memorable moment for me. Also, I love going to the gym and just being outside, going on hikes and walks, and going to British Columbia in a couple weeks. So I'm excited to go explore out there and see some new areas, and they got some beautiful scenery. So like stuff like that just gets me motivated. Okay. And I'm a foodie.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of those things that you just described basically have a prerequisite, though. That prerequisite is financial freedom.
Yeah.
Because all of that requires being financially free to do 100%. That and live the life that you want. Like, what's your process for achieving financial freedom in your life? Do you have one? Like, what's that like for you?
Yeah, I have one. It could definitely be better.
Okay.
100% without a doubt. I'm actually, just the other day I was talking to Sebastian about, I think we just need to we need a new CPA. Okay. Just because she was able to get us to where we are, but now that the money's really rolling in,
right.
I don't think she has, I love her to death, but I don't think she has what it's going to take for me to get the tax savings that I need to keep more of my money moving forward.
I think what you just said is critical.
Yeah.
Because a lot of business owners don't recognize that. Yeah. You're working very hard for what you're bringing in a gross standpoint.
Yeah.
But gross isn't where it's at.
No.
Net is where it's at.
It's what you take home.
And there are actual strategies out there that can help you keep much more of what you're working hard for.
Yeah.
It's just most people, don't know about them, and even specialists, even accountants, even CPAs, they also don't know about them or don't know how to actually practically implement them. Yeah. Like, what has your methodology been up until now, though? Like, have you been having regular meetings with your financial professionals? Like, what's that like?
It's been quarterly meetings with them. We send them all our data, reports, how the business is doing. But there has, like last year, I had absolutely, other than the regular expenses for the business, I had no other tax write-offs. I didn't buy any property, and I did myself a huge disservice because it was on my to-do list.
Yeah,
never got to it. And still now, we got, 3 months left in the year, and I made a commitment to myself. I'm like, by the end of September, I'd like to buy something. I got the funds to do it. I need it to decrease my taxable income. I have to.
Yeah, accountability is a big factor in making progress.
Yeah.
Do you have accountability partners that are out there that you lean on?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
When you look at challenges from a life standpoint, you've been through a lot. Yeah. Like, you've gone from rock bottom based on just having that emptiness inside. But you've made decisions all along the way to upgrade. I love that. What do you think inspired you to be able to do that? Like, is it something that you think it was just innate within you, or did you have people around you pushing you? Like, what got Eric to constantly upgrade?
Yeah, I think it's an assortment of things. Okay. I think some of it I was just born with, and a lot of it was harvested over time through trials and tribulations and experiences. Nixing what didn't work and doubling down on what did. So it's been a process, and I'm continuing to grow. I think that's really the most important thing. Is like, if my goal is, I don't want to be the same person I was yesterday, today. So if I'm the same person, James Clear said it in I forgot what the book was, but he's like, a 1% increase every day leads to massive growth over the course of a year.
100%. The way I like to position it is I always want today to be better than yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow. Constantly working for like progress. And being committed to it and doing what it takes in order to get to that next level, which sometimes requires sacrifice. Sometimes it requires you taking a risk and just leaping with faith. Would you say, I think I know the answer to this, but I'd love to hear it from you. Would you say that faith plays a big role in your decision-making?
Yeah, massive.
Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah. So there's a saying that I forgot where I learned it, but it's like faith without works is dead, you know? So, like, yeah, I can be faithful and have a belief in something that is going to guide me, but, like, if I'm not supporting that faith, like, it doesn't matter. And for me, I support that faith through action, through continuing to remain disciplined in my spiritual rituals. You know, it's definitely not religious, it's more spiritual for me, but, like, just the faith, the same way I had faith that the drug dealer was going to meet me on the corner when I needed what I needed, I implement that same faith into my life today.
Wonderful. Well, I talked with a friend of mine about this. I sort of likened faith to, like, fuel in a car. It's great to be in the car, but unless you turn the ignition on and hit the gas, it does nothing for you.
Absolutely.
So faith without works. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal it. I don't know who you stole it from, but I'm definitely going to steal it. I like to do, with these conversations, I like to do a little bit of a thought exercise. Okay, so I'm going to put you through this thought exercise.
Please, let's do it.
I want you to imagine for a moment that you have the ability to go back in time and meet with a younger version of Eric. You get to decide what version of that Eric, who that Eric is, what age, where you're located at the time. But you have the ability to go back to that version of Eric and share with that version of Eric one thing. Who are you going back to meet, and what do you share?
Yeah. I'd probably go back to 18, 19-year-old Eric.
Okay.
Because that's when I really probably struggled the most, late teens, early 20s.
What was the struggle about at that time? At that moment?
Full-blown addiction.
Everything.
Full-blown addiction for me. You know, consuming and consuming until there was absolutely nothing left. You know, and what I would tell myself?
What do you share with Eric?
Wow, it's got me emotional, man. I'm just thinking about who I was back then. You know, I'd probably tell myself not to quit before the miracle happens, you know, and to keep moving forward. You know, and there's light at the end of that tunnel, regardless of how I felt today or feel today. Like, continue to take that next step in the right direction, continue to do good work, stay positive, and, you know, you will prevail.
Would he have heard you?
At the time, I don't think so. I don't think so. What's that saying? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I wasn't ready at the time. I needed to continue to beat myself up to hear that. And I feel like people probably told me what I would have said to myself.
I'm certain.
Yeah.
You had people around you who loved you.
Yeah.
And I know that in times of addiction, it can become extremely stressful for those who are around you. And you do get disenfranchised, if you will. But the fact that you kept going and made it through is what is the amazing part of the story. I mean, obviously it's nice to have a huge warehouse and to live financially free life, but it's most important to live.
Yeah.
And you're here today.
100%.
It's such a blessing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the second half of this thought exercise. I want you to imagine for a moment now that a future version of Eric has come back in time to sit next to you on the couch. And he's going to share something with you. What does he share?
How he saved so much money on his taxes in 2023.
I love it.
He's going to give me the rundown of everything.
This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what you're going to continue to do. That's exactly what he would say.
I love it. I love it, especially sitting in this room today.
Yeah.
Okay. When you look at the fact that you've gone back in time told something very important to the earlier version.
Yeah.
One thing. And you've come from the future to tell one thing to the current version of Eric. You got two pieces of information that are extremely valuable. I want you to be able to share something with the audience, one thing with the audience that you think they should know in order to help get them to the next level.
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer, and I just learned this probably 2 years ago.
Okay.
You know, it's like my goal and your goal should continue to be leveling up in the rooms that you're in. And an example would be like there's a $500 room, right? The $500 room is the event you attend. You know, maybe the private dinner that you pay a little extra money to sit with certain people.
Okay.
But to continue to look for that next room that goes up in value. Like from the $500 room, what do I got to do to get to the $1,000 room? Then the $10,000 room. Okay. And not being afraid to make the investment to be in that room. And we were talking about this before. It's very challenging to see the value of what's in the room before you're in it.
Yes.
So making that commitment to, like, I know me and you, we're in some high-level rooms.
Yeah.
Right? So to make that commitment to join that high-level room before you see the value in the room is complicated. But from my experience, every high-level room I've paid to be a part of has absolutely not only gave me an amazing ROI on my investment, but it's changed my life and taught me things that you just can't learn on your own.
I think that is so, so powerful.
Yeah.
Because I 100% agree with you. I think that if you are put in front of an opportunity, it's up to you to take it. I was talking with someone recently because they shared with me a quote, and I just found it to be so powerful. And it went something along the lines that most people don't take advantage of opportunities because the opportunity is often dressed in overalls and looks like work.
Yeah.
But the reality is life is about work. You have to act, because action is what leads to outcome. Consistency, staying status quo, does not change things. Yeah. It's only when you move and you put things in action that you actually get a result.
Yeah.
So I find that extremely powerful, and I know the audience is definitely going to take it to heart. Eric, I want to thank you so much for being so authentic. I would love the audience to be able to get in touch with you after this. What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah.
How can they reach out?
Yeah, Amazon just Google it. You can find our Instagrams. Best way, I respond to all my DMs. So if you got a question about life, if you're struggling with even addiction, whatever it is, if you want to grow an Amazon business, just message me. I'll respond. I'm a super friendly guy. And then obviously we got our other channels, the YouTube and all that, but you'll see it all.
It'll all be in the show notes.
Instagram's the best place to find me.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us before we wrap up today?
No, it's an honor and privilege. I'm glad we're continuing to grow this relationship, and I appreciate you guys having me out here.
Privilege is truly mine, and I also think that the audience loved it as well. Guys, if you did love it, 100%, you need to hit that subscribe button. You do not want to miss what's coming next. Can't wait to see you on the next episode. I'm Edward Collins. This is Entrepreneur Unleashed. Eric Castellano, great guest. We'll see you next time. Bye for now. Eric, thank you so much. That was awesome.
Phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
When your heart's not open.